Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Buckchester. You know what I like to do on my show? I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today, we want to get you fired up about my author today. Her name is Justyn Credible, and we're talking about her book, So Far, So Good, and I love that title. Now, you already know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee, and get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Justyn. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Now, I absolutely love the fact that you have a book entitled "So Far, So Good." Like that's a phrase that we've heard so far. I mean, that we've heard before, and it's usually encouraging. Like, so good, yes, you're doing it. You can make it, and it empowers people to continue to go on. But before we talk about your book, I want to ask you just a little bit about you, and that is what makes Justyn. What makes you you? What makes you tick?
What makes me me?
Yes.
Living life, loving the Lord, loving my family, just whatever happens, new experiences, reading, hiking, those are things that I like, and we all are unique, and we all have these special stories, and that's just I'm happy.
I love it. Now, is being an author something that you've always wanted to do?
No, never. And I don't. Someone might as well have said be a ballerina, and I would have said, oh yeah, sure, that would be me. No, I don't think of myself as an author. I think of myself as a storyteller. That different things happen, and I really go back and I tell stories, or I write the stories, and other people have said, hey, I enjoy your stories, you should put a book together and make it a book. And so that's what I did. But it was never my intention, but it's very therapeutic. I have people come up to me and say, well, you're a writer, you should write my story. And I always tell them, I can't write your story. You have to. It has to come from the heart. It's your personal experiences, and that's what will make it special. If you're honest with yourself and write about things that you know, things that have happened, you can do this. I said, I can't write about other people's stories. It just won't work. It won't come across as being sincere.
Absolutely, and I can understand that. You want that authenticity there. You want the passion. You want the love. You want the anger.
Exactly.
You want the happiness, the silliness. You want the author's personality to come out in the story, and I can understand that. I definitely can. Now, speaking of writing your book, the title of your book, did you find that the title came to you first and you were able to write around the title, or did you start your writings and perhaps the title evolved out of your writings? How did the title come about?
Well, the title, I really like the title. It's sort of my life philosophy, I guess, because no matter what's going to happen, I'm a believer and I have a strong faith. And no matter what's going to happen, even with all the coronavirus, we're all going to get through it. God's going to get us through it. I just think Rhonda, the girl that's in the story, she has all these horrible things that seem to happen to her, but she still survives. She's like the wildflower that you're walking along and you see a whole bunch of weeds, or it's like some big junkyard, and she's there because no matter what happens, she might be walking along and something just really horrific might be ready to happen to her. But about the time that it happened, then the next being comes along for her to walk on. So that's sort of where I got the idea, but I didn't know that was going to be it until I started putting the stories together. I had no idea. And I thought, just don't put pressure on yourself. It will come. And then it was just obvious because that's her. No matter what happens, there's always going to be something that comes along, and it keeps her strong.
I understand that. Now let me ask you this. When you were writing, did you have a particular reader in mind? Like, did you say, I want for teens to be able to read this? Is this ideal for kind of the average woman, husband, kids, has, working as an escape from all of our life's day-to-day things? Or did you say, you know what, I really just want to write this for whomever is interested. I want for them to be able to go on this journey with me?
Well, it is a journey, and it is a girl named Rhonda. It's her journey, but it wasn't. Kurt Vonnegut always says, write for one person. And he wrote for his sister. And I didn't even read that until after I had finished the story. And then when I was rereading it the other day, it occurred to me that when I did put together the stories, that I was writing for one person. And it really turned out to somewhat be my sister. But it's also for people, it's a timepiece. So it's a journey from this girl that she starts off, she's non-existent, and anything bad happens, it's her fault. And so it's her journey, but it's also to give people hope and to give people inspiration. And I thought, well, some people might read a certain part and go, yeah, that was me. I can relate to that. And it's not really a kid's book. It's probably people that maybe grew up in the 70s and the 80s and even now. I mean, even now, that there's reference made to things that happened then that we may not have access to, but it's sort of a flashback. But I have a friend and she said, I always take your book with me because I like to read it, like if I'm at the doctor's office or that I'm waiting. She said, it just has little things, little bits of inspiration. She said it makes you laugh, but it also makes you cry. It's also Rhonda's walk, my walk in faith. And so I didn't realize until I got done that not only was it, of course, therapeutic. I mean, that's good for anyone. And I get up the same day, every day, and write a little bit. But I think it's probably for my sister. And I haven't seen or heard from her in over 30 years, but she was like my best friend. My mother died when I was young, and she took care of me. I mean, it was because of her that I did a lot of the things that I did, even when she wasn't there. But that's funny because I didn't even think of who I wrote this book for until I was done, and I got it much later.
Now, did you find that it was important to include a faith aspect into the book? That however you chose to incorporate it, did you find that it was important for you to give your characters a sense of hope and faith and belief and perseverance and inspiration? Was that an important part of writing for you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I even put my testimony at the very end, and I said, but definitely not, I said the most important part, because even if someone, it's an easy read. The book's an easy read. I mean, it's, as you said at the beginning, just curl up with that cup of cocoa and then just start reading, because it reads easy. But I even talk about how Rhonda, how she starts off, remember, she starts off thinking she's a nobody, and then how along the way she realizes it's okay to be a nobody, that God loves nobodies, and also that I even say, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean on not on your own understanding in all your ways. Acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. And that how she, over time, and I still do this, Rhonda does this, but, every morning before I get up, if I get stuck in like a bad situation, I'll just tell myself, trust Him, especially now. I mean, we definitely have to have the faith over fear. I mean, we don't know how long this is going to last. Some people say, forever, a long, long time, life will never be the same, and that could be true. And whether the coronavirus is still going on or not, I do have to say this, that I've noticed that people that are believers versus non-believers, they're more calm because they know that there's something better out there. And the thing about, I have 3 or 4 chapters, actually, they're just, short little ones. I've got God and GPS, and I've got that if you don't, this isn't in the book, but it's just me saying this, as bad as the coronavirus has been, will be, if someone doesn't have Jesus in their heart, I mean, that's a billion times billion more horrific. And it's too bad that, that part of the book is finished. Maybe I could put that in the next book, because I just want people, there's their observations, and I just want, and I didn't even really know. I was just sitting there thinking, okay, well, you're old enough. These are your comments on life. So this is sort of what you think, and I, no, my life, I just can't imagine if you don't have God in your life. I mean, I feel really sorry for you when I saw these women fighting over the last roll of toilet paper for the coronavirus. I was thinking, that's just such a bad example for your kids. They're probably good people, but they don't even know what they're doing. I mean, they're just fighting over it. And I thought, wonder if you stepped up to them and you said, God's watching you. He's here. I mean, I just wonder what they would actually, if they would actually just step. But I thought this is a bad example of people panicking. But yeah, to put that in there, because I did want to get across to the people that even though Rhonda, her background starting off was horrible, but she developed into this real people and a real person. And I don't think she would have been able to do this without having her faith. And it wasn't always that strong, and she's not perfect. I mean, we have one perfect person, and it's not us, right? But that's the good part about it is, and that's why I even have a short chapter, God and Nobodies, is you can do horrible things, and God's going to love you no matter what. Just accept Him into your heart, and He'll guide you. But yeah, no, that was real important. Real important to put that in there.
I love it. I love it. Well, it is almost time for us to go to break. But before we do, Justyn, if you could please, could you remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Oh, thank you. It's So Far, So Good by Justyn. Credible. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. Balboa, I think, is the publisher. And to get a hold of me, I'd love to hear from people, good, bad, indifferent. But it's DHGERLHOME@hotmail.com.
Alrighty, listeners, now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. We are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Buzzchester. I am excited about having my guest on today, Justyn Credible, and we're talking about her book, So Far, So Good. And I love that title because we want everything in our lives to be good so far, right? I know. We always want to look at that at life from a very positive perspective, no matter what's going on. So, Justyn, my next question for you is about writing itself. Before I get into that, let me ask you a little bit more, because I wanted to ask you. You talked about Rhonda and a little bit about her personality and the characteristics about her. But are there any other characters that either you found were very fun to write about, or were there any characters that kind of really challenged you or stretched you as a writer to be able to include some bits of personality?
Well, there's her sister Mandy. Rhonda was the third daughter in the family, and the first daughter was just beautiful. And when Mandy comes along, she's homely and she's gawky, but the mom says that's okay because Mandy has a brain. Now, Rhonda was the third daughter, and she knew better. You didn't look sideways. You were told to do something, you did it. Not Mandy. Mandy would, she was kind of, sort of took care of Rhonda. She'd help her do her hair, help her with school. She was the one that encouraged her and told her she should go to school. And she was the one, like for example, when the Halloween, there's a story in there about Halloween. I mean, Mandy has already been in all kinds of trouble by just saying, why aren't we normal? I mean, the family went to bed at 8 o'clock because the dad had to get up at 4. They could never watch TV, and when they did, it was Saturday, the dad show. But on Halloween, the mom almost thought it was a satanic thing, but she would let him go. She didn't give him a mask because that was too much money and that was too risky. So she'd take an eyebrow pencil and lipstick and paint her face and said, you can only go, but you have to go on Halloween night or Halloween Eve. You couldn't go on Halloween, and you can only go up one side of the street. So what, of course, Mandy does, she's running from house to house, hoping, please, don't let them invite me in and ask me, who am I? She said, they should know who I am. I'm not wearing a mask. And, of course, she'd be getting her candy, eating it as we're going down the street, because when we got home, the mom would, pour it all out, sort through it, cherry pick. She had the mommy and daddy pile, and the oldest sister, who this was beneath her to go out Halloweening. So, she'd get her share, and then there was the baby. So, he couldn't have any either. But what Mandy's thing was, she would, go as fast as she could down the block with the idea that she'd be able to go down the next block. And then the next night, no one wanted to give out anything for Halloween. The mother would not buy candy. She refused to buy that. So back in those days, you could give out mushy apples. And so that was Rhonda's job. I mean, Rhonda always got these things. It's like, well, I'm not going to do this. So, of course, Rhonda would pass out mushy apples. Or Mandy was a bookworm. She was really, really smart. And she one day went to Rhonda because Rhonda would just always read mysteries. And she said to her, look, I want you to read this book. When you only have to read it to page XX. When you get to page XX, if you don't like it, you're done. But if you get to page XX, then you have to keep reading it. And, of course, she got Rhonda hooked on reading books. It sort of backfired, though, because she could only check out so many books. And Rhonda and Mandy would have all these books. And the mom, which I mentioned it in the story, she always kind of wanted to be a doctor. And so she would always say, well, I get a doctor book for me. And we'd say, well, on what? And, well, this week the heart. This week, this sort of thing. And so then, of course, Mandy was limited because then I needed an extra book. But probably Mandy, and Mandy's the sister, and Rhonda looks up to her. I mean, Rhonda is Mandy's puppet. She'll say jump, and she'll say, okay, how high do I jump? But Mandy was, that was probably my favorite character to write about. When I was rereading the book, I thought, oh no, this is horrible. I mean, a lot of the characters, of course, they're no longer around. But when I was thinking of my mom, I started off with my mom, and I said she was sort of like the sheep herder. You have sheep; they're all in a huddle, and even if an ice storm comes, I don't know if you know much about sheep, but they all just kind of move together no matter what. So it's the mom's job to keep them together. The dad, I have just 3 short paragraphs on this one place. I mentioned more about him, but I call this, Rhonda was no exception of wanting to be a princess or queen for a day. She'd creep into her daddy's bedroom on Sunday, dress in her finest for Sunday school, take her chubby little finger and poke him in the eye. Wake up, Daddy. Do I look pretty? All the while twirling around. He would say, you look pretty, never opening his eyes. But then Rhonda would look at her dad and wonder at what age he stopped enjoying life. Was it because he was a grown-up, and how did that work? Was there a certain age that one stopped eating candy? Did being a grown-up mean that one would enjoy eating stewed tomatoes? And then I have one more short other paragraph. Rhonda believed he must have been a homing pigeon in another life. Either that or his parents had a GPS chip implanted in him at birth. He had the philosophy that if one had been somewhere once in their life, that they should be able to get back to that place, even if it was 20 years ago. He would time people on how long it took them to do something or drive somewhere. That should have taken you 13 minutes. It took you 20 minutes. What were you doing the other 7? So I had fun with all of them. I did. Probably if they were here now, they would probably say, oh, well, let me write history. This is what really happened. But Mandy was probably, I was the closest to her. The oldest sister, there's probably about 10 years difference and those two between Mandy and between we in the story she's called Butchie. It's because she cuts her hair with scissors but like I said, she was still beautiful. I mean, put a bag over her head and she's still beautiful. But the girls drooled, and the one boy ruled. I even mentioned in the book that the only time that the dad ever smiled was the day that he had a son. And when one of the baseball teams won the World Series, I won't tell you which one. You have to read the book. But the only 2 times that he won. But I think he did the best he could, but there wasn't any closeness with him. And like I said, the mom was almost a psychopath. Like she had told Mandy and Rhonda, you cannot play a mouth instrument because it'll make your mouth ugly and then no one will want to marry you. You cannot be cracking your knuckles because you can't wear a wedding ring. No one will want to marry you. I mean, that was their focus. Okay, we have girls, let's get them married. Boom. The boy, we got to buy new clothes for him. The only thing we're spending money on are sports things for the boy.
I hear you, and it's really funny because that was real life at a particular time, and for some people, it still is real life. Now speaking of real life and how we do things, I usually ask a flip side of a coin and say what is the good and what is the bad. But due to time, I'm going to ask you just the good. And what was the best part about writing this book with the characters that you selected?
Well, Rhonda, she becomes the hero of the story because I got to see her and develop her into becoming a person. There's this story, which I'm trying to look because I tried to put some notes out here. I call it, It's the Little Things. Is it okay if I read it?
Sure.
Okay. I'll try to read fast, but not too fast. But saying goodbye to Glowworm. Rhonda's 15-year-old car was sad, but it was time. She remembered the crazy road trips and the insane people that traveled with her, sometimes halfway across the country. She remembered moving ridiculous items in Glowworm from garage sales. She remembered the day she covered the car seats and her grandson telling her that he liked the gray seats better. The original seat color was white, except for a cherry stain. It became routine to stop and add oil. Glowworm never let Rhonda down as far as starting in cold weather, and it did not drink very much. I know we don't have a lot of time, but so what happens to the car is she has to get a new one, but when she bought the car, people came up to her, you didn't pay money for that, did you? You can get it back, can't you? it's a woman's car. And I'd look at Rhonda, would look at him and go, yeah, I'm a woman, hello. So when she decides it's time to retire, Glowworm, she starts asking people, trying to get their approval. And she's thinking, am I regressing? She said, it's just a thing, not a life-changing situation. Perhaps she should buy the convertible that she had her eye on and get on with life. It did occur to her that when people she asked about the cars were trying to be helpful, they were also giving her advice on the car that they wanted. Most of the time, it'd be a car that was in no way Rhonda. After frustrating the salespeople one day, yes, one day, no, she bought the convertible. Her mate said, I hope you're happy. She said, I am happy, but it had nothing to do with the car. As happy as I am with my life, it's going to get happier. She thought, I don't need to keep checking in the mirror, worrying about the blind spots. It was time she put the top down to her convertible and started living. Buying the car moved her closer to her yes. So she becomes this person and realizes, hey, I'm a person, I have thoughts, I matter, I'm special, God loves me. I mean, that's what Rhonda always thinks, and I don't know if I said it before, I'm already into repeats. If you love the Lord and if you take care of your family, it all will work out. It will.
I love that. That is, I'm so glad that you took a moment to share that with us. No, I
want to say that God gives us so many gifts, so many, and fear, it's not one of them. And so people, I mean, we're going to get through this. I mean, it is. By having fear, it's like saying, okay, God, I don't trust you enough. And it's like, yeah, of course you do, but it's hard. I mean, me of all people, I'm guilty of it, especially when it's you, and it's much easier to say that to other people. And so then when it's you, but it's just it's faith over fear. I think, Angela, we should start making necklaces and have the faith over fear. We can make them in gold and silver.
That would be a great reminder that people need to remember. People need to remember to live in their faith, not live out their fear. I have to agree with you on that one. Well, Justyn, we are just about out of time, but I want to make sure that everyone is reminded one more time where they can not only pick up a copy of this awesome book, but how do we stay in contact with you? And if you would please, title of your book, where can we get a copy? How do we stay
in contact? It's so far so good. I think it's on Kindle, so that would be Amazon, probably Barnes & Noble. I think it's either $2.99 or $3.99. There's a paperback book. The hardback is ridiculous. I told the publisher, I mean, I wouldn't expect people to buy this for the hardback, but if they want to write me, it's DHGERLHOME@hotmail.com, and maybe I'll send them a page or two, but then they'd have to buy the rest.
Of course, I can understand that. And, of course, you guys know that I'm always going to bring you authors where you can get a copy of the book on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. Justyn, thank you again for spending time with us today.
Thank you. I loved it. I was nervous, but it was great. You made it easy.
Thank you. And listeners, we hope that you have enjoyed your time with us as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.